Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're exploring some powerful life lessons from Buddha. Teachings that have really resonated for centuries and still offer, I think, a lot of wisdom for us today.
Definitely.
So imagine you're searching for a more fulfilling life, right? A way to navigate the ups and downs, the desires, anxieties. We all face those. And Buddha's insights can offer a real framework for that, like practical advice on handling desires and finding true happiness.
What's really striking to me about Buddha's teachings is how relevant they still are. It's like, he understood something fundamental about us, about being human. And those things still matter to us today, no matter our background or beliefs.
I totally agree. Okay, so let's dive right into the first lesson. The middle way. Sounds kind of simple, but how does it apply in our world now? It's complex, it's modern. How does this fit in?
Right. The middle way is all about finding balance between extremes. It's like this constant pull we feel between wanting to indulge every desire and denying ourselves any pleasure. Buddha saw both of these as causing suffering.
So it's not about giving up all our possessions and becoming like an ascetic. It's more about finding a balance that works.
Exactly. The middle way recognizes that true happiness doesn't come from chasing more money, more things, more status. It's about being content with what we have, but still striving for growth and, fulfillment.
That reminds me of those studies about people who win the lottery. So many of them actually end up unhappy. It seems like getting everything you could want can actually backfire.
It's a perfect example of how external things don't usually bring lasting happiness. The middle way challenges us to look inward, to find that contentment from within, and really appreciate the simple things.
It's a shift in focus, isn't it? Okay, so how do we find this balance? Is there like a formula for the middle way? Or is it more of an ongoing process of self-discovery?
It's definitely more of a journey. It starts with being aware of our tendencies, our desires and habits. We have to ask ourselves, am I always chasing after more, or can I be content with just enough?
That concept of just enough is interesting. It almost seems counterintuitive in our culture, where we're constantly bombarded with messages to want more, bigger, better.
It is a radical idea, especially in a world that's so consumer-driven. But think about how much of our energy is spent wanting what we don't have instead of appreciating what we do have. Shifting our focus to contentment, that can be a real way to break free from that cycle.
That shift in perspective makes a lot of sense. Okay, so what's next? What's another lesson Buddha offers? How do we cultivate this mindset that leads to happiness and fulfillment?
That's where right view comes in. Buddha taught that our thoughts have a huge impact on our reality. If we're dwelling on negativity, that's what we see around us. But if we cultivate positive, realistic thoughts, well, our experience will be much more fulfilling.
So it's about taking responsibility for our mental state. Like, we can't control everything that happens, but we can control how we react to it.
Exactly. It's recognizing we have a choice in how we see the world, in how we respond to those challenges. Let's say you're stuck in traffic on the way to work. You could get frustrated, let it ruin your day. Or you could take a deep breath, accept it, and maybe even use that time to listen to a podcast or call a friend.
Right. It's not about pretending things aren't happening. It's about how we deal with them. So how do we go from being reactive to being more proactive? How do we develop this right view?
It starts with self-awareness, paying attention to those thought patterns. Notice when we're spiraling into negativity and gently guide ourselves back to a more balanced perspective. Things like mindfulness meditation can be incredibly helpful for this.
Yeah, it's about being present, observing our thoughts, but without judgment. Creating that space to choose how we respond. Sounds like a key skill for actually putting all these teachings into practice.
You're absolutely right. It's like working a muscle. The more we practice mindfulness, the better we become at catching those moments where we're about to react and choosing a better way to respond.
Got it. So we have the middle way for balance, right view to manage our thoughts. What else? What other wisdom did Buddha have to offer? This is already making me think.
Let's talk about karma then. People often misunderstand it, see it as some kind of cosmic system of reward and punishment. But it's more nuanced than that.
Okay. Yeah, I've always found karma fascinating. It suggests our actions have consequences, but how it works in real life isn't always clear.
In Buddhism, karma is about understanding that the choices we make create a kind of momentum. If we do negative things over and over, lying, cheating, hurting others, we're creating a tendency towards suffering. But if we cultivate positive actions, things like kindness, generosity, we build momentum toward happiness and well-being.
So it's not punishment, but a natural outcome. Like if I don't study for a test, I'll probably fail. Not because the universe is punishing me, but because I didn't do the work.
Precisely. It's about being accountable for what we do and understanding that our actions have ripple effects. But the great thing is we can always change direction. Our past doesn't define us. What we do now shapes who we become.
That's actually reassuring. It means we have the power to create a better future, regardless of past mistakes. So it's not about dwelling on guilt or regret, but about making different choices going forward.
Exactly. We can learn from our past, but it's ultimately about focusing on the present moment and making choices that align with our values and what we want to achieve.
This is really hitting home for me,
Yep.
like a call to action, to step up and make choices that create the life we want.
It is a call to action, and it leads us to another lesson from Buddha, living each day like it's our last.
Wow, that is a powerful thought. I can see how that would change things. Instead of putting things off, we'd be more focused on what really matters.
You get it. It makes you ask, am I truly living each day fully? Am I spending my time on what's meaningful and fulfilling? Or am I, wasting time on things that don't really matter?
Oh, I'm definitely guilty of that sometimes. Getting caught up in the day-to-day and forgetting to just be present. It's like we're always waiting for someday when we'll have time for the things we really want to do.
And that's why Buddha emphasized being mindful of, our mortality. Not in a morbid way, but as a way to appreciate how precious life is and to motivate us to make the most of every single day.
It's about those simple joys. A good meal, a walk in nature, a meaningful conversation with someone you care about. It's being present in those moments instead of letting them slip away.
Exactly. And mindfulness meditation can be such a great tool for cultivating that sense of presence. It helps us slow down, tune into our senses, and really appreciate the beauty and wonder of this moment.
It seems like mindfulness is a common thread in all of these lessons, the thing that connects them and makes them practical.
You're so right. Mindfulness is like the foundation for building a life with more awareness, more compassion, more fulfillment. It's the key to unlocking the power of Buddhist teachings and making them part of our everyday lives.
This is giving me so much to think about already. Okay, let's keep going. What other insights did Buddha offer about living a fulfilling life?
Well, he really emphasized the power of small, consistent actions. He often used this analogy of a water pot being filled drop by drop. Just as a small, steady stream of water can fill a big pot eventually, so too can small, consistent actions lead to big results over time.
Like the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. Big achievements usually come from many small steps taken consistently, right?
Precisely. And this applies to everything. Building healthy habits, good relationships, pursuing our dreams, consistency is key.
So it's not about those grand gestures or trying to change everything overnight. It's about those small, everyday choices that add up to something big over time.
Exactly. And there's research to back this up. Studies show that it takes consistent effort to build new habits. It's about starting small, being patient with yourself, and celebrating those small wins along the way.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that. I'm much more successful when I break down big goals into smaller, manageable steps.
It just makes it more sustainable. And it reminds us that every choice we make, no matter how small, can move us closer to what we want or further away from it.
Makes me think about all those seemingly insignificant decisions we make every day. What to eat, how to spend our free time, how to respond to a frustrating situation. Each one is like a chance to practice aligning our actions with what we believe in.
That's such a great way to think about it. It's about bringing mindfulness to those everyday choices and asking ourselves, is this moving me closer to who I want to be and the kind of life I want to create?
Wow, this is giving me a whole new perspective on my daily routine.
Yeah.
Those small choices are like the building blocks.
They really are. And as we become more conscious of those choices, we start to create a life that truly reflects our values and aspirations.
This is amazing. So much to process. Maybe let's pause here for a second and let it all sink in before we go on to the next lesson.
I think that's a good idea. Sometimes the most important insights need a bit of quiet reflection to really take root. So, ready to uncover more of these insights from Buddha?
Absolutely. I'm really curious to hear more about what he had to say on how to navigate this thing we call life.
Well, one of his teachings that really sticks with me is this idea that true happiness doesn't come from outside ourselves, it comes from within.
We talked about that a bit earlier with the middle way, right? And contentment. But I'm interested to go deeper on that. It's so easy to get caught up in wanting external validation or material things. How do we escape that and find happiness from within?
Buddha observed that people often chase things like wealth, fame, possessions, relationships. They think these things will make them happy. But he saw how temporary those external sources of joy can be. He taught that true happiness is an internal state.
So it's not about what we own, but how we feel about it.
You got it. It's about cultivating a sense of peace and contentment within ourselves that isn't dependent on our circumstances.
Okay, so how do we actually cultivate that kind of inner happiness? It sounds a little bit abstract.
It is a practice, not a quick fix. Mindfulness meditation is a great place to start.
Mindfulness again. Seems like a recurring theme here.
It's foundational. Remember, mindfulness is all about being present in this moment, without judging ourselves. It's about noticing our thoughts and feelings, our sensations, but not letting them carry us away.
Instead of just reacting to those emotions, we can create space to choose how we respond.
Yes, exactly. And as we practice mindfulness, we get better at observing our thoughts and emotions without getting lost in them. This helps us make conscious choices about how we react.
We can pause, take a breath, choose a wiser way to respond, instead of just letting our anger or frustration control us.
You're getting it. That ability to respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting automatically is so important in Buddhist practice. It helps us break free from those habitual patterns and act in a way that aligns with our values and intentions.
So mindfulness is kind of the base on which all these other teachings we've talked about are built.
I think that's a good way to look at it. It helps us become more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and intentions, which then allows us to make better choices about how we're living our lives. It supports everything from finding balance with the middle way to developing gratitude and compassion.
Got it. So mindfulness is essential. What are some other practical ways we can integrate these teachings into our daily life?
Another powerful practice is something called loving-kindness meditation. Sometimes it's called metta meditation.
I've heard of that. What exactly is it?
It's a practice focused on cultivating love, compassion, and kindness. You start with yourself and then extend those feelings outwards, first to people you love, then to people you don't know, then even to people you find difficult, eventually to all beings.
It sounds beautiful. How do you actually do it?
You concentrate on specific phrases or visualizations that bring up feelings of warmth and goodwill. For instance, you might repeat phrases like, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free.
You direct those feelings toward yourself first.
Right. And then you gradually expand them outward. Like I said, first to loved ones, then to people you don't have strong feelings about, then people who challenge you, and finally to all beings everywhere.
It seems like it could really transform you, dissolve anger and resentment and judgment, replacing them with love and compassion.
It really can. And there's research that shows loving kindness meditation has all kinds of benefits. Increased feelings of happiness, connection, and empathy. It can even reduce stress and anxiety.
That's amazing. So it's not just a feel-good practice, it actually helps us in concrete ways.
Exactly. And it creates a ripple effect. When we radiate love and compassion, we're helping to make society more harmonious and peaceful.
I like that. So we all have the power to make things better just by working on our own feelings. What about right action? What does that mean in terms of our everyday choices?
Right. Action is all about aligning what we do with our values and intentions. It's about making wise and compassionate choices that are good for ourselves and for others.
So it's not just about not doing harmful things. It's also about actively doing good.
Right. You got it. It's about speaking kindly, helping others, protecting the environment, living in a way that promotes peace.
It makes me think about all the choices we make every day. What we eat, what we buy, how we treat people, even the work we do. Each one is a chance to practice right action.
You're exactly right. Even the smallest choices can have a big impact. We can choose to support companies that do things the right way. We can buy things that are ethically and sustainably made. We can volunteer our time to causes we believe in.
It's kind of empowering to realize how many opportunities we have to make a positive impact.
It really is. And as we make these choices, we're helping to create a better world for ourselves and for future generations.
This whole deep dive has been so insightful. It's really inspiring me to try to live by these teachings.
Me too. It's a good reminder that the path to enlightenment isn't a destination, it's a journey. And it's a journey we can all take, regardless of who we are or what we believe.
It's about making the effort to live more consciously, more compassionately, and just more skillfully. It's a journey full of growth and transformation and even joy.
Well said. As we move on, remember that the teachings of Buddha are meant to be lived, not just studied. Take what speaks to you and try to live by it.
Experiment, see what works, and be patient with ourselves as we go.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone. There are so many resources out there to help you. Books, teachers, groups, online courses. Don't hesitate to reach out for guidance and support.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and insights today. This has been a really enriching conversation.
It was my pleasure. May we all keep learning, growing, and discovering our full potential.
And to our listeners, thanks for being here with us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep shining your light. Welcome back. It feels like we've covered a lot, but there's still so much to explore in the world of Buddhist teachings. I mean, where do we even start to put all of this wisdom into practice?
Yeah, it can definitely feel overwhelming. We have all this wisdom, but how do we actually live it? One of the most accessible practices, like the foundation, is mindfulness. And it's not just about formal meditation, but bringing more awareness to everything we do.
So like instead of just going through the motions, we're slowing down, paying attention, and really being in the moment.
That's it. Whether we're eating or working, talking with a friend, even just walking down the street, we can practice mindfulness. Bring our full attention to the experience. Notice the sensations, the thoughts, the emotions, without judging them.
It's like what we were saying about living each day as if it were our last. If we really lived like that, wouldn't we be more present? Appreciate each moment more?
For sure. Being aware of our mortality can really push us to live more fully, to appreciate how precious life is. It helps us prioritize and let go of things that don't really matter.
So mindfulness isn't just about paying attention. It's also about how we react to what we're noticing, right?
Exactly. When we practice mindfulness, we get better at observing our thoughts and feelings without letting them control us. And that gives us the space to make conscious choices about how we react.
Like instead of letting anger or frustration lead us to do something we'll regret, we can stop, breathe, and choose a different way to respond.
Right. Being able to respond thoughtfully instead of just reacting, that's a big part of Buddhist practice. It helps us break free from those bad habits and make choices that align with our values.
It seems like mindfulness is what all the other teachings we've discussed are built upon.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Mindfulness helps us see our thoughts, emotions, and intentions more clearly. And that helps us make better choices in our lives. It supports everything from finding balance to being more grateful and compassionate.
Okay, so mindfulness is key.
Yeah.
What are some other practical things we can do to make these teachings part of our lives?
Another great practice is loving kindness meditation, sometimes called metta meditation.
I've heard of that. What exactly is it?
It's a beautiful practice. You focus on cultivating love, compassion, and kindness. You begin with yourself and then spread it outward. First to people you love, then to neutral people, even difficult people, and eventually to all beings everywhere.
Sounds lovely. But how do you actually do it?
You concentrate on specific phrases or maybe visualizations that make you feel warm and kind. You might repeat phrases like, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free.
And you direct those feelings at yourself first.
Yes. And then you slowly expand those feelings outwards, like I said. First to loved ones, then to neutral people, even those who challenge us, and finally to all beings.
It seems like it could really change you. Get rid of anger, resentment, judgment, replace them with love and compassion.
It can. And research actually shows that loving kindness meditation has a lot of benefits. People feel happier, more connected, more empathetic. It can even decrease stress and anxiety.
That's amazing. So cultivating those positive emotions isn't just a nice idea. It actually makes us healthier.
Right. And it also spreads outward. When we radiate love and compassion, we're helping to create a more harmonious and peaceful world.
I love that. It's a good reminder that we can all make a difference just by working on our own feelings. Okay, so what about right action? How do we actually do that in our everyday lives?
Right action means aligning what we do with our values and intentions. It's about making choices that are kind, wise, and good for both ourselves and everyone else.
So it's not just about avoiding bad things, it's also about actively doing good.
Exactly. It's about being kind, helping people in need, taking care of the environment, living in a way that brings more peace to the world.
It reminds me of all those choices we make every single day. What we eat, what we buy, how we treat people, the work we choose to do. Each one is a chance to practice right action.
You're right. Even small things can make a difference. We can support companies that are doing good in the world. We can choose to buy things that are ethical and sustainable. We can volunteer our time to things we care about.
It's kind of inspiring to think about how many ways we can make a positive difference just by the choices we make.
It really is. And as we make those mindful choices, we're helping to create a better future for ourselves and everyone else.
This deep dive has been amazing. I feel really inspired to try to incorporate these teachings into my life.
Me too. It's a good reminder that the journey to enlightenment isn't about arriving somewhere. It's about the path itself. And it's a path that anyone can take.
It's about making a commitment to live more mindfully, with more compassion, more skill. And along the way, there's so much opportunity for growth and transformation and joy.
I love that. As we wrap up here, just remember, Buddha's teachings are meant to be lived, not just thought about. Take what resonates with you and try to put it into practice.
Experiment, see what works, and most importantly, be patient with ourselves.
Exactly. And you don't have to do it alone. There are tons of resources to help you along the way. Books, teachers, groups, online courses. Don't be afraid to reach out for support if you need it.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights today. This has been truly enriching.
It was my pleasure. May we all continue to learn and grow and discover our full potential.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep shining your light.